Well, good morning, good afternoon or good evening to you, my beautiful pen friends, and welcome to another video with your host Andrew. So the subject for today's video is a long-term look at this Ranga Giant 9B. So let's roll those titles and find out what it's like. Now, before we do start off with this pen, I thought I'd just let you know I am still going to be doing my Christmas guide video, which will be next week, but I've just got a brand new microphone today, so hopefully this will improve some of the audio on the channel. I thought it might be good actually to, to actually test out the microphone, but not only that, also have a look at one of my favourite pens. So let's have a closer look at this pen. Now this pen is made out of Japanese ebonite, and it is hand turned on a lathe in India by Ranga Pens. And this pen really is quite gigantic. It's huge. It is very, very imposing. I haven't got a Namiki Emperor, but I wouldn't be surprised if it actually even dwarfs that. So if you do like large pens, then this is certainly a pen for you. So let's start with looking at this pen, and we'll start from the top and then we'll work our way down. Okay, so we've got this almost like torpedo-like shape, and it's absolutely fantastic. The machining on this really is absolutely superb. We've got this lovely sort of, it's not even a conical, it's just like, it comes like to this torpedo end on this finial, and then it just tapers down onto this seamless body. And if I just hold this up, you cannot see the creases in this really, not unless you look at this super close up, and I will do that for you now. I'll overlay the video. There we go, and then it tapers all the way down to a point here. It's not too dissimilar to like a Zeppelin shape either, actually. You know, if you had the undercarriage, you would actually be a Zeppelin. But yeah, this is a huge pen, and I will do a size comparison of this so you can see what this is like in relation to other pens. So let's uncap this pen. And this section is big. So if you like large sections, this is certainly a pen for you. It's much bigger than pens which I've previously bought, and the step up, which you can see just here, it does flare up quite a lot. Maybe if you are a person which holds the pens quite far back, it's not going to be a comfortable pen, but the threads, they're really smooth, they don't dig in, and it is actually generally for myself really comfortable. Yeah, okay, so now let's look at this nib. Now the nib is friction fitted into the actual section here, and it's got an ebonite feed, which is hand cut. The nib, I believe actually maybe, I don't know, I did say in the other video, I believe it was a Yovo nib, but I think this is actually a Ranga nib. I don't know who makes these, if I'm brutally honest, and I do need to find out. But this is one of the springiest nibs which I've ever used on a steel nib fountain pen. And when you have a look at the writing sample in a moment, you'll find out just quite how springy this pen really is. So I'm not going to unscrew this all the way, but let's just undo the body a little bit. This is an eyedrop pen. Now Ranga in their range do a 3-in-1 filling system. I'll just take it all just about there. There we go. So it's got a really long thread assembly on there. Never had any problems with the pen leaking out of that section. I did for a while have issues with ink coming onto the section, and I've got a feeling it might have been a moisture buildup. So that is something to look out for. If you're going to dry or wash out the actual inner cap, so the actual cap itself, not the inner cap, just the cap. There is no inner cap, I don't believe, in here. You do need to let that dry out thoroughly before you actually attempt to put it on, because it will create a moisture buildup, and I think that was basically what was causing those issues. Now the nib is a fine steel nib, and then if we continue looking down this body, okay, as I say, it does have quite a huge step up, and then it tapers all the way down. Anyone who was wanting to experiment with painting on pens or doing urushi for the first time, Ranga pens I would certainly recommend. I know Tamenuir Studios, Michael from them, whether he still uses Ranga, I don't know, but I know in the past he has used Ranga pens, and they really do provide excellent value. Now the retail price for this pen is around about $60 US. That doesn't include shipping. Obviously, that is dependent on where you live to how much that shipping is going to be. But yeah, it's a really good value pen. You know, ebonite, handmade, steel nib. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with this pen. I don't use this pen as often as perhaps I would like, purely because it's not a practical pen to carry around, not unless you've got a pen pouch or something along those lines. So that's the pen really, from a sort of aesthetics point of view and from a technical point of view. I will put up the dimensions for this pen before I do forget. I still need to come up with a format for this video. Will sort of suit my needs. But anyway, there you go. You can see what the dimensions for this pen's like. Right, let's get on to doing a writing sample. Right, so welcome to the writing sample. I am going to add value in today. On hindsight, I felt that this is something which perhaps I could actually add on reviewing my actual other video. So yeah, even as a reviewer, I am actually reviewing myself constantly just to try and obviously improve myself and offer you a better value. So let's just crack on. We have got Ranga Giant 9B. Nib is fine steel. And the ink is one of my favourites, Santini Blue. I find this is a very nice lubricated ink, and it gives a nice sort of indication for what pens can actually offer. Now here comes the fun part, line variation. So that's no pressure, a little bit of pressure, and giving it some beans. And as you can see, this pen, oh, just a little bit of roading there, but this pen really does give a lot of characterization to your lines. So let's just do and you don't really feel that you're having to put a huge amount of pressure onto this nib when doing this. So as you can see from that line variation, it is really absolutely superb. And I will be doing some sort of like ASMR videos soon with flexing with this pen. It's, I would call it like a, maybe even like a semi-flex pen at this sort of rate. Okay, so wetness. Yeah, it's pretty wet. It's pretty wet indeed. Very nice. Okay, so let's talk about the performance of this pen. It's a solid 10 in my mind. 10 out of 10. Perfect. Style, it's sleek, it's black, it's modern. If this isn't going to be your thing, obviously, you know, you can completely avoid it. But for myself, I love the stealthy nature of this pen. And maybe if the pen was sort of like PVD coated or something like that, it might look even more fantastic. Yeah, I love this. It's 9. There are a few things which I might change about it, but only just that of the nib. The bounce is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to give that a solid 10. And the value is exceptional. It really is a really fantastic pen. Okay, so let's just go back to my face and then I'll give you some further thoughts on this as well. And I haven't got any more news to add on today, as I am doing 2 videos in a day. So let's go back to my face and we'll finish off this video. Okay, before we do actually go on to doing the summary, I almost forgot. We do need to do a size comparison today. So first off, we have got the Ranga Giant 9B in black ebonite. Then we've got the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in Arco Brown. Then we've got a Pelican M200. And then we have got a Shown Design Pocket 6 in Cinnamon Suminagashi. So there you go. You can see what those pens are like capped. Let's get them uncapped and see what they're like uncapped. So as you can see, even uncapped, these pens are absolutely massive. The Giant 9B still absolutely dwarfs that oversized pen from Leonardo. It's quite comical, really, to be honest, but it's still a very, very comfy pen to hold. Being made out of ebonite, it's very light, and it never feels like it's actually being counterbalanced by the size of it. Then, of course, you've got the Pelikan M200, and then you've got the Shown Design Pocket 6 at the end. And yeah, they're really, really quite incomparable in size. So let's just move the Leonardo out of the way, and just to give you a real sort of little and large sort of experience, let's just move those out of the way. And as you can see, that Shown Design Pocket 6, well, you can fit it in twice, can't you, to be honest, even with the actual pen capped. It's basically, it just takes up the actual barrel on the Ranga. So yeah, if you like big pens, then yeah, the Ranga is certainly a pen to consider. Right, so now let's get back onto the summary, and then we will finish off with the video. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my final thoughts on this Giant 9B. I've now used this pen for several months, and even though I might not have used it as frequently as perhaps some of my other pens, there's something about this pen which really does sort of pull on the old heartstrings. The fact that it offers that incredible line variation just from a steel nib, it really is an absolutely stellar pen. I did have some sort of occasions where perhaps some inks didn't perform as well in that, but with this Santini Blue, the Leonardo Black, which I've tried, if you have a nice lubricated ink, it works absolutely flawlessly. The design is very sleek. I love it in this sort of matte black. You can have the option of having this pen polished to a high gloss finish, and that might be something which suits you. But I bought this primarily because I'm either going to paint it, or next year I'm going to start experimenting with urushi, and I thought this would be a really good, inexpensive pen to practice on. So yeah, that's what my sort of thoughts and feelings are on this pen. I really can't recommend Ranga enough, to be honest. Yes, there may be some indiscrepancies with some of the quality control initially, but if you are a reasonably advanced writer and you don't mind tinkering a little bit, I did have to heat set the feed to the nib a little bit. It was gushing too much to the point where it would railroad really quickly, but after just dipping it into a little bit of hot water, the feed and the nib did set perfectly. I wouldn't necessarily recommend dipping the whole section because it is ebonite, but there are plenty of videos, and I know Emmy on Pen Venture has got some fantastic videos on that. So that really brings me to a conclusion on this pen. I'd be interested to know, do you have any Ranga pens? Do you have any cheap pens which have just completely blown your mind? If you have, please leave those comments in the section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I shall see you in the next video, which hopefully will be that Christmas video. So until then, stay safe and goodbye.